Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves a track by an act named MATD titled Me and My Dog. And if we switch over to here we have ourselves a track on YouTube and it's looking good, mat.band. They've got a Facebook page as well if you want to check them out, but we're going to listen through this track from start till finish. I'm going to hear what we think. Let's go. So charismatic with the guitars and the drums and the synths as well.
Some people get it wrong how we get along. Look at my best friends. Look into deep brown eyes, they never tell me lies. Day and night together we spend. Never underestimate loyalty, not overrated. Friendship lasts longer than love.
Friendship lasts longer than love is a hell of a line. I vibe with it, don't get me wrong, but it's a good point.
Take a little bite, wanna have a fight. We are dynamite. Me and Doug, we are a team. Bitches walking down the street. We are bloody mean. No need to sleep alone. Every time I'm coming home, all I need I got, says owner of the nasty dog.
What I appreciate about this in part, the vocal performance with the high harmonies making, the mid-range is palatable, but I think it's great to expand upon that high register there if we can with multiple singers. It's just all the energy that's going on with the drums, the bass, the guitar lines, the organs as well. It's just a fantastic combination. It's really euphoric and it shows a lot of love for our canine companions. These all little solo lead passages.
I obey, keep my collar tight. Ugly as you may be, your beauty I can see. Partners in crime and dark lights. Sunny day or stormy night, never leaves by my side. Friendship lasts longer than love. Bark, take a little bite, wanna have a fight. We are dynamite. Me and Doug, we are a team. Bitches walking down the street. We are bloody mean.
It's just the power of having the guitar line with a little bit of dissonance with those unison notes as well in those intervals. Just, it's unexpected even though I've had it before. I dig the consistency with the breaks and the changes in dynamic range.
No need to sleep alone. Every time I'm coming home, all I need I got, says owner of the nasty dog. Bark, take a little bite, wanna have a fight. We are dynamite. Me and Doug, we are a team. Bitches walking down the street. We are bloody mean. No need to sleep alone. Every time I'm coming home, all I need I got, says owner of the nasty dog.
Okay, great. An alternative section here. It's nice to have the pug with the ukulele there. I like the video. It's a really dope video. Lots of love and passion went into that too, I think. Great, a solo section. Good job elaborating on that. MATD, me and my dog. MATD.band. Okay, there's a lot to appreciate within this track. I think that there's a really positive message, and I can tell a lot of effort went into both the composition and the performance, so let's talk about that in the conclusion. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from MATD, titled Me and My Dog. Now, what do I think this track is about? I think effectively this track is about showing some love for our canine companions, for taking the time to actually be with them, to not be distracted by external distractions, and just to really appreciate their bonds, that kinsmanship, that mutual affection between man and hound. And I think that the way it was sung sold it for me. I think it was very easy story to understand what was going on there with the repetition of the hooks and stuff like that, and the elaboration within the verse lines and such. But I think also the vocals sounded like they were clearly passionate about these animals, and they wanted you to pay attention and to treat your dogs better, or to show them the love that they deserve. You know, it's cool. I think that the performance was energetic and very, very. There was a lot of effort put in, and they had a nice command of the mid ranges and high ranges between the two different singers. They clearly had areas of the frequency spectrum they were more comfortable in, and again, I think nice higher harmonies emanated well when there weren't the synth leads or whatever other pads and organs coming in the mid to high range. That was good. We had good vocal technique. I'm happy with it. I liked the fact that we kept relatively minimalist with the passages themselves, because it was more of a focus on keeping the story relevant. I don't think having massive vocal runs would necessarily help the track like this, which was supposed to be more sort of like, it's kind of like popcorn, nice and cheery and easy to sort of digest and kind of relate to. I think that around that last chorus, the one before that synth solo, I was thinking, I think we've had enough of this hook at this point. Not because I thought it was badly written, because for me personally, even if a track is within that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot, I need more from a band than a reiteration of an outro chorus. I need them to do something either different with the vocals, or to add more layers, or change the way that they approach that chorus if we're repeating them. Obviously, doing the chorus once or twice in succession is fine, especially if it's well written. But I feel I don't think they could have done another run of that hook line or that chorus section after the solo section, simply because I think we kind of got the message that they wanted to communicate at that point. It would have been potentially, in terms of the message and trying to get the point across, redundant. So I'm glad that they exercised that control. They kept it again under 3.5 minutes or so with that solo section at the end with the fade out, which was very classy. And ultimately, I think that with a solid vocal performance with interesting melodic ideas there without overdoing it, it simply focused on the story that was being told about the dogs, and it was, I think it was done well. It was the actual expression behind the performance was appropriate. The track itself, again, at between 2 to 4 minutes, that sweet spot is good. And aside from the comment I made about not necessarily being able to get away with another run of the chorus, I think the chorus sections themselves were compelling, with the guitars, bass, drums, keys, synths, and all that. Really well textured. It was more that we had everything so early on that for me, I think that we could have potentially staged the development of it further and had less of everything at the start. I know that it can be really powerful to kind of overwhelm the listener and kind of get them up to speed with things. I know that it can be difficult to retain engagement and attention unless we give them enough to sort of want to stick around for. But I think a track like this, you can get away with being a bit slower with the way that you get people indoctrinated with your arrangement. I don't think you need to speed through the different instrumental layers. I think this I would have allowed more space for the verse, and the choruses would have sounded a little bit less consistent, which again, the quality of the choruses was good. It's just that if you'd held off maybe on some of the extra pad layers or something like that until later on, or you'd had less of them than we had, I think it would have been more powerful in regards to the overall listening experience. But in saying that, the performance on the various instruments was stellar. The drums, there was a lot of interesting grooves and chops that they were playing with there, predominant 8-note groove, but we did mess with some 16ths, especially in those fill sections there, and it was constantly moving forward and pushing, and I dig that with the chord note accents. The bass line was nice and relatively moderate. It wasn't too overbearing, but you could definitely feel a bit of power there. But I think most of the focus spectrally was in that mid to high range, so I didn't necessarily feel as if there was a push to have a whole bunch of oomph in the low end. It was tight though. Production wise, it was tight, and that just simply because there might have been some resonance in the bass tones or something like that we needed to EQ or notch out. But regardless, the bass was done well. It worked well with the root notes of the chord progressions. The guitars on the sides were great, with the fullness of the chords and the tone of them being nice and warm on the sides. The keys or the organs were a fantastic foil to the guitars. kind of a bit more warm and a bit more sort of smooth and kind of, how do I describe it? They had a glow to them that emanated, whether they were doing their solo parts or whether they were simply kind of sticking around as like a mid-range shelf for the higher parts to lean on. The synth solos, like synth leads, including the solo at the end, as well as any other pads that we had, were tremendous. I liked the attention to detail there. It was very quirky. It was fun. It was interesting to listen to. We didn't sit on too many ideas with that respect too long, so it sounded fresh whenever they came in. And I think there was a nice color response between some of the synth parts and the vocals as well, like in some like the Me and My Dog parts in the chorus section, so that was great. The theme ultimately to me sounded like one of passion. It made me feel like I wanted to spend time with a dog that I don't have. It's not that I don't like dogs, I just literally don't have a dog. But it kind of made me want to go get one, for better or worse. I mean, I have a cat, and she's obviously not a dog, but I guess I'll show her some love after this review, and it's gonna be good. Go hang out with my cat. Anyways, unrelated. The theme makes you want to love animals more than you already do. It also reminds us that we need to actually spend quality time with our animals, and I think that comes across with all the things connected with the story parts, with the performance itself, with the motif. Nice and major, no overly dark elements there that kind of bring the mood down. Very tonally appropriate, well done. I mean, finally, the recording, mixing, and mastering was sensational. I'm really happy with how it was recorded and performed. The vocals sounded nice and organic. It wasn't, again, it wasn't like a pop-produced like vocal track. We didn't compress the hell out of it and get it so you could hear them breathing and stuff like that. It sounded like two dudes singing their hearts out into a microphone, and that's what you get with the intro. Like if I go small, that's what you have. You have two dudes like singing into a microphone. They really care about it, and it comes through in that performance. But you can tell they took a really good take of it. They're confident in their abilities, and that's great. I mean, like couple that with the drums, the bass, guitar, keys, how everything else is notched within that frequency spectrum, how wide things were in the stereo field there, and the movement there, and lots of interesting things to take notice of. The dynamic range of the track not having an existence there, a purpose there, with things not being the same loudness all the time. There were little gaps where you could come down, and then you got pushed back into a new part or a repeat of a various part, but it's because you had a break, it was nice to hear that part pause, and it's something you can appreciate. I suppose, finally, when I hear this track, I think, okay, so if the performance was solid and then things are EQ'd and filtered correctly and it's nice on the stereo field, it's just the fact that it was nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting were handled well. I haven't really got a lot of complaints about this, aside from the thing where I mentioned that I wanted potentially more range compositionally from like the choruses we go through. We could have staged things a little bit more slowly, but aside from that, that's just more of a subjective thing anyways. I can understand what they tried to do with this track, and they clearly know what they're doing by not having the track longer than it was. I think they knew the limits there, and that's good. So I really wish them the best of luck in future, but this is effectively my review of MATD, their track Me and My Dog, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via the various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.